Hello friends, welcome back. Here is our next chapter, companies incorporated outside India from law. Come, let's get started. Let us understand the meaning of a foreign company under section 2 subsection 42. Foreign company means any company or a body corporate incorporated outside India which has a place of business in India whether by itself or through an agent, physically or through electronic mode, and conducts any business activity in India in any manner. So it is saying foreign company is any company which has a place of business in India either directly or indirectly. Directly means it can have its own building, own office in India, or through indirectly means it can conduct its business through agents or through electronic mode. Electronic mode means carrying out electronically based whether main server is installed in India or not, including but not limited to. So these are the few examples where electronically conducting business has been given. B2B and B2C transactions, data interchange and other digital supply transactions, offering to accept deposits or inviting deposits or accepting deposits or subscriptions and securities in India or from citizens of India, financial settlements, web-based marketing, advisory and transactional services, database services and products, supply chain management. Online services such as telemarketing, telecommuting, telemedicine, education and information research, and all related data communication services, whether conducted by email, mobile services, social media, cloud computing, document management, voice or data transmission or otherwise. It is saying whatever might be the transaction that is conducted from India or through the citizens of India or in India, so such company can be treated as a foreign company even if such company is trying to accept deposits or deposits or subscriptions from India or from the citizens of India, then such company shall be treated as a foreign company. Hope you are clear with the definition. And foreign companies, okay, we are now ready to identify what is a foreign company, but which sections of a Companies Act are applicable to foreign companies? It is saying section 382, 386 and section 392 and 393 shall apply to foreign companies. It is like 380, 381, 382, 383, 384, 385, 386, 392, 393. Hope you are clear with this. The 7 plus 2, 9 sections are applicable to foreign companies. However, the central government may provide some relaxations or exemptions regarding this applicability of sections. So, where not less than 50% of paid up share capital, whether equity or preference or partly equity and partly preference of a foreign company is held by one or more citizens of India or by one or more companies or body corporate incorporated in India, or by one or more citizens of India and one or more companies and body corporates incorporated in India, whether singly or in aggregate, such company shall comply with the provisions of Chapter 22 and such other provisions of this Act with regard to the business carried out by it in India, as if it was a company incorporated in India. So it is saying where a foreign company whose paid up share capital not less than 50% is held by company or body corporate or individual or a group of individuals or all of them, either singly or in aggregate, if they are holding 50% or more, then such a company shall be treated as a company that is incorporated in India even if such company is a foreign company, and all the provisions of chapter 22 shall apply to the company as if it is a company incorporated in India. Hope you are clear with this section. Let's move on to section 380. Which are the documents to be delivered by the company to the registrar of companies? So in this chapter entirely we are speaking about foreign company only. According to Section 380, every foreign company shall, within 30 days of the establishment of its place of business in India, deliver to the Registrar of Registration a certified copy of charter, statutes, memorandum, and articles of a company or other instrument constituting or defining the constitution of company. So it should, we used to call memorandum of association and articles of association. Since this is a foreign company, there can be a separate charter or a separate statutes which are applicable to this company. So all these documents should be given to the registrar of companies. If these documents are not in English, then it has to be translated, and such translation has to be certified in an English language, and the full address of place of business, principal place of business of the company. So if a company has a principal place of business outside India, then such address has to be given, and a list of directors and secretaries along with the particulars described. What are the particulars that are required to be given? Personal name and surname in full, their former name or names or surname or surnames, father name or mother name and spouse name, date of birth, residential address, nationality. If the present nationality is not the nationality of origin, then his original nationality has to be given. Passport name, passport number, date of issue and the country of issue, PAN if applicable, occupation if any. If he is a director in any other Indian company, then the particulars of the same, like DIN, name of the company, SIN of the company has to be given. Other directorships held by him has to be clearly noted down, and the membership. If you are appointing any person as a secretary to your company, that means foreign company, then his membership number has to be given and the email ID of them. Hope you are clear. If you are giving details to the registrar, then all these particulars of directors or secretaries has to be taken care of. The name and address or the name and address of one or more of persons resident in India authorized to accept on behalf of the company service of process or any notices required to be served on the company. You should clearly give the address either of the company or the agent who can act on behalf of the company to receive any notices or any queries or any other documents which are required to be served upon the company. So such address has to be given. The full address of office of the company in India, which is deemed to be its principal place of business. Suppose a foreign company might have more than one place in India, but the principal place of business might be different. So in such a case, the place of business which is treated as principal place of business, such address has to be given to the registrar. Such full address has to be given. Particulars of opening and closing of place of business on earlier occasions. Suppose a company has came to India in 2008 and it has established its own business, it conducted its business, it closed down the company and it went off. And now again in 2020 it came back. So when you are giving particulars in 2020, you should clearly mention the details of your previous business occupations in India, that is in 2008. Such details has to be given. Declaration that none of the directors of company has ever been convicted or barred from formation of companies and management in India or abroad. Suppose a company has been disqualified to act as a director in India, he went abroad and now he is acting as a director in India. So such kind of formations should be avoided, because this particular provision is saying a foreign company will be allowed to register only if none of the directors are prohibited or convicted or debarred from acting as a director in the previous occasions in India. So any other information as may be prescribed, if the registrar asks you any other particular information to be given, then such other information has to be given. According to Companies Registration of Foreign Companies Rules 2014, the above information shall be filed with the registrar in 30 days in form FC1. Remember these form names. For registration it is form FC1, for alteration it is FC2. Alteration means alteration in memorandum or articles or charter or statutes. Okay. The application shall also be supported with the attested copy of approval from RBI and wherever any such approvals are required for a foreign company to start its business in India, all such copies has to be attached to Form FC1 along with prescribed fee, should be submitted within 30 days from the date of establishment of place of business in India to the Register of Companies. Office where documents to be delivered and fee for registration of documents. See, always fees is as prescribed, and in generally we used to say ROC is the place where the ROC which has a jurisdiction over the place of the business. But in this case, that is foreign company's case, it is particularly the New Delhi ROC. ROC which is having jurisdiction over New Delhi. So every foreign company, whether it is required to submit any document like establishment or registration as a foreign company, any alterations, submission of annual reports, all has to be done to ROC which is having jurisdiction over New Delhi. Come, let's go through the provision. According to the Company's Registration of Foreign Companies rules, any document which any foreign company is required to deliver to the registrar shall be delivered to the registrar having jurisdiction over New Delhi. It shall be accompanied with the prescribed fee. If any foreign company ceases to have a place of business in India, it shall forthwith give a notice to the fact to the registrar, and from the date on which such notice is so given, the obligation of the company to deliver any document to the registrar shall cease, provided it has no other place of business in India. Suppose if a company is closing down its business in India, so this particular company, this particular foreign company which is closing business has to give a prior notice, has to give an intimation to the ROC that I am closing my business, and from the date this company is not under an obligation to deliver reports, submissions, annual reports, submission of requisite forms from time to time has been ceased, provided it has no other place of business in India. Suppose I had 4 places of businesses in India and now I am shutting down only the one. So I am under obligation to deliver all the prescribed forms on the prescribed dates for the other 3 places of business. Even though I am required to submit or I am required to give a notice that I am shutting down my place of business in one of the city. Hope you are clear. Under section 380, every foreign company existing at the commencement of the Companies Act which has not delivered to the registrar the documents and particulars specified under 592 of the previous Companies Act, that is 1956, shall continue to subject to the obligation to deliver those documents and particulars in accordance with the Companies Act 1956. Suppose if any company has formed under 1956 Act and such company has not delivered the prescribed forms to the ROC, then such company has to deliver the documents as per the previous act only, not under the new act. Let's move on. Section 380 provides that any alteration is made or occurs in the documents delivered to the registrar under section 380. The company shall within 30 days has to submit such alterations to the registrar in form FC2. So for the initial registration it is form FC1. For alterations it is form FC2. Both are within 30 days. FC1 is 30 days from the date of establishment of place of business in India. FC2 is 30 days from such alteration, along with prescribed fee, that is a common point. Accounts of a company, section 381. According to this section, every foreign company shall in every calendar year make out a balance sheet and profit and loss account in such form containing such particulars and including or having attached or annexed thereto such documents as may be prescribed. It is like final accounts. All these financial statements has to be prepared by the foreign company also and deliver such copy to registrar. Every foreign company shall prepare financial statements of its Indian business operations in accordance with Schedule 3 or as near thereto as possible for every financial year, including the documents that are required to be annexed should be in accordance with Chapter 9, that is Accounts of Companies. Documents relating to copies of latest consolidated financial statements of foreign company are submitted by it to the prescribed authority in the country of its incorporation. See, suppose my parent company is in USA and I'm a foreign company in India. Now, along with my financial statements, that is my standalone financial statements, I should submit the consolidated financial statements of my parent company, which my parent company is submitting the documents to the USA government. So such documents has also to be annexed along with my standalone financial statements, and if such documents are not in English, then it has to be translated into English and has to be a certified English. The central government is empowered to direct, in case of any foreign company, the requirements of clause A given above shall not apply or shall apply subject to such exceptions or modifications. So the central government may provide some relaxations. We already read this point. Specified documents, if not in English language, a certified translation thereof is required. Every foreign company shall send the registrar along with the documents required to be delivered to him a copy of list in the prescribed form of all places of business established by the company in India as at the date with reference to which the balance sheet is prepared. Suppose as on the balance sheet date I had 10 places of business in India. Then I should prepare a list of all these places before submitting my standalone financial statements to the registrar. And such submission of financial statement shall be in form FC3. So it should submit its financial statements in form FC3 along with the fees prescribed. So what are the documents that are required to be given along with form FC3? First one, I need to give my standalone financial statements and consolidated financial statements which my parent company is submitting to the prescribed authorities in its own home country, and the list of all places of business in India as on the balance sheet date along with prescribed fees. So all these things has to be submitted along with FC3. According to companies registration of foreign companies rules, if any foreign company ceases to have a place of business, it should give a notice to the ROC, and from the date on which the notice is given, such foreign company is under no obligation to submit such documents or deliver any documents to the registrar, provided it has no other place of business in India. This is a common point which we have read in previous section also, that is 380. According to Companies Registration of Foreign Company Rules 2004, further, any foreign company shall, along with the financial statements required to be filed with the registrar, attach thereto the following documents, namely, statement of related party transaction, repatriation of profits, transfer of funds, including dividends if any. The above statement shall include such other particulars as prescribed in Companies Registration of Foreign Companies Rules. So, along with those things which we have discussed previous, that is standalone financial statements, list of places of business in India, and the consolidated financial statements, these three statements should also be given, that is statement of related party transactions, statement of repatriation of profits, and statement of transfer of funds has to be given to the registrar. All these documents shall be delivered to the registrar within a period of 6 months from the close of financial year of a foreign company to which the documents relate. Suppose my generally financial year ends at 31st of March. So within 6 months. So March plus 6 months, that is September. By 30th of September, every company has to submit all these things of FC3, form FC3 should be submitted within 6 months from the end of the relevant financial year. Hope you are clear. Audit of accounts of foreign company. As usual, who will conduct audit in India? It's a practicing CA or a firm or an LLP formed by a practicing chartered accountants. All the provisions of chapter 10, that is audit and auditors, shall apply mutatis mutandis to the foreign company also. And then section 382, display of name of a foreign company. As a general rule, every company has to disclose its name in the local language and its place of, suppose if it is a foreign company, its place of incorporation, the place of incorporation of its parent company, and English language. These are the few points that are to be remembered while going through this section. Let's go through. Every foreign company shall exhibit on the outside of every office or a place where it carries on a business in India the name of a company and the country in which it is incorporated in letters easily legible in English characters and also in the characters of language or one of the languages in general use in the locality. That is a local language in which the office or place is situated. Cause the name of a company and of the country in which the company is incorporated to be stated in legible English characters in all business letters, billheads, letter paper and all notices and other official publications of the company. So all those papers which are required to be given by the company, even if they are bills, so these particular company name, place of incorporation has to be given in English language and any one or more of the local languages. If the liability of members of a company is limited, cause notice of that fact has to be stated in every prospectus and in all business letters, billheads, letter papers, notices, advertisements and other official publications of a company in legible English characters, and to be exhibited, conspicuously exhibited on the outside of every office or place where it carries on the business in India in English characters and also in legible characters of a local language which is in general use. Hope you are clear. So these are the few points which are to be remembered, that is English language, local language, and what are to be disclosed: name of the company, place of incorporation. And in case if any person's liability is limited, then such fact has to be given in everywhere, like advertisements, bill heads, letterheads, whatever you call, this has to be reported. And then comes section 383, service on foreign company. So under section 380 we should give the details of the place or the address of the agent or whoever it might be who is acting on behalf of a company to receive all notices or to receive any other documents which is served upon the company. So here under section 383 it is saying, if you issue any notice on such address which has been given under section 380, then such address is deemed such notice is deemed to be served on the company. Either it is left at or sent by post to the address which has been so delivered to the registrar or by electronic mode. Even if such notice has been given through electronic mode, that shall be treated as service upon the foreign company. Let's go through these wordings first. Any process, notice or other documents required to be served on the foreign company shall be deemed to be sufficiently served if addressed to any person whose name and address have been delivered to the registrar under section 380 and left at or sent by post to the address which has been so delivered to the registrar or by electronic mode. Hope you are clear with this. And then section 384, debentures, annual return, register of charges, books of accounts and their inspection. These are the few things that are to be discussed in this. So the provisions of section 71, that is issue of debentures, and the provisions of section 92, preparation and filing of annual return, and section 135, corporate social responsibility, shall apply mutandis to a foreign company, subject to such exceptions, modifications and adoptions as may be made therein by the rules made under this act. According to the company's registration of foreign companies rules, every foreign company shall prepare and file an annual return in form FC4 with prescribed fees within 30 days from the last within 60 days from the last day of its financial year to the registrar, containing the particulars as they stood on the close of the financial year. So form FC1 is for registration of foreign company, FC2 is for alteration, FC3 is for financial statements, FC4 is for this, what, issue of debentures, preparation and finalization of annual return. This has to be given. Form FC1, 2, 3 has to be within 30 days, but FC4 is within 60 days from the end of financial year. The provisions of Section 128, books of accounts, etc., to be kept by the company shall apply to a foreign company to the extent of requiring it to be kept at the principal place of business in India. The books of accounts referred to in that section with respect to the monies received and spent, sales and purchases made, and assets and liabilities in the course of or in relation to the business in India. So, whatever business is carried out in India, to that extent, assets and liabilities, sales and purchases, monies received and money spent has to be maintained at the principal place of business. And then comes chapter 6, that is registration of charges, and chapter 14, which is inspection, inquiry and investigation, shall apply as it is, as if it is a company that is incorporated in India. Fees for registration of documents, it is a general language, that is as prescribed under Companies Registration of Officers and Fees Rules 2014. And then comes interpretation, section 386. Certified copy means what? Director means what? Place of business means what? Certified copy means certified in a prescribed manner to be a true copy. We used to give true copies in our office. You might be experiencing this true copy declarations. And director in relation to a foreign company includes any person in accordance with whose directions or instructions of the board of directors of a company is accustomed to act. And place of business includes share transfer or office, registered office. Come, let's go through this example first. This is a small example where you need to say whether that company is a foreign company or not. A company incorporated outside India having a share registration office at India. See, merely having a share registration office in India doesn't mean that it's a foreign company. Such company shall be treated as a foreign company only if it is carrying out any business in India, either electronic mode or through agent, either directly or indirectly. Indian citizens incorporated a company in Singapore for the purpose of carrying on business there. So the first condition to be satisfied as a foreign company is it has to be setup is outside India. This foreign company is outside India only, but it is nowhere connected to the Indian business. Merely an Indian or a group of Indians has invested in its share capital doesn't mean that it is a foreign company. So even if Indian citizens have started a business over there, such company shall not be treated as foreign company. Let's go through the answer. Section 2 subsection 42 defines foreign company as a company or a body corporate incorporated outside India which has a place of business in India, whether by itself or through agent or physically or through the electronic mode, and conducts any business activity in India in any other manner. So according to section 386, the expression place of business includes share transfer or registration office. Accordingly, to qualify a foreign company, a company must have the following features. Must be incorporated outside India, must have a place of business in India. That place of business may be either in its own name or through agent or even maybe through electronic mode, and must conduct business activity of any nature in India. Therefore, a company incorporated outside India having a share registration office at Mumbai will be treated as a foreign company provided it conducts any business activity in India. So, if it is conducting any business activity in India, then such company shall be treated as a foreign company. And in case of a company incorporated in Singapore for the purpose of carrying out business in Singapore, will not fall within the definition of foreign company. Its incorporation by Indian citizen is immaterial. In order to be a foreign company, it has to have a place of business in India and must conduct a business activity in India. So you are clear with this place of business and having a conducting of a business. So place of business is different from conduction of business. Even if you have a place of business where you are carrying on any business activity, then it has to be treated as a foreign company. Merely because an Indian incorporated a company outside India doesn't mean that it is a foreign company. And then comes section 387 relating to the dating of prospectus and particulars to be contained therein. No person shall issue, circulate or distribute in India any prospectus offering to subscribe for securities of a company incorporated or to be incorporated outside India, whether the company has or has not established or when formed will or will not establish a place of business unless the prospectus is dated and signed. So the prospectus before issuing has to be dated and signed. It has to give a particular date on which such prospectus is issued and has to be signed by the prescribed authority. Contains particulars with respect to the following matters, namely, the instrument constituting or defining the constitution of a company, enactments or provisions by or under which the incorporation of a company was effected, address in India where said instrument, enactments or provisions or copies thereof, and if the same is not in English language, has to be translated into English and certified English is required. Date on which a country in which the company would be or was incorporated, where the company has established the place of business in India, and if so, the address of principal place of business in India, and state the matters defined under section 26. Provided that points 1, 2, 3 of point A above shall not apply in case of a prospectus issued more than 2 years after the date at which the company is entitled to commence its business. So it is saying, if you are issuing prospectus more than 2 and you are issuing that prospectus after 2 years of its commencement of business in India, then these particular points, that is like 1, 2, 3, instrument consisting constitution of a company, enactments that are applicable, address in India, all these things need to be like exemption given to such companies. And if you are giving it in a fresh prospectus and you are not have completed the 2 years of commencement of business, then all these details has to be given. And then no waiver of compliance in prospectus. So central government will not waive off any of these conditions because it is a foreign company. How the Indians will have confidence on it? Only if these particular conditions that are given under the act has to be complied. So there can be no waiver of the compliance in prospectus. Form of application for securities to be issued along with the prospectus. So application forms to subscribe for those securities has to be attached along with the prospectus itself. No person shall issue to any person in India in a form of application for securities such a company or intended company as is mentioned unless the form is issued with the prospectus which complies with the provisions of this chapter, and such issue shall not contravene the provisions of section 388. Exception, if you have entered into an underwriting agreement, such this exception is applicable. If it is shown that the form of application was issued in connection with a bona fide invitation to a person to enter into an underwriting agreement with respect to the securities. If there is an underwriting agreement, then this particular subsection is exempted for you. It's like exception given to you. Section 387 subsection 4 provides further that the provisions of section 387 shall not apply to the issue of existing members or debenture holders of a company of a prospectus or form of application relating to the securities of a company, whether an applicant for securities will not have a right to renounce in favor of any other person. So if there is no right to renounce and you are giving such securities to your existing members or debenture holders, then this particular rule, that is like these details given above, shall not be complied with. It is like an exception given to you. Except in so far as it requires a prospectus to be dated to the issue of prospectus relating to securities which are in all respects uniform with the securities previously issued and for the time being dealt in or quoted in the required stock exchange. If the shares have been already listed in the stock exchange, then this particular section is not applicable to you. But subject to the aforesaid, section 387 shall apply to the prospectus or form of application whether issued on or with reference to the formation of a company or subsequently. So all these things will come into existence, apply to the prospectus and form of application issued by a company which is a foreign company. Notwithstanding, in section 387 shall limit or diminish any liability of any person may incur under any law for the time being in force or under the Companies Act apart from the section 387. So any limit that is prescribed in section 387 shall not diminish any liability of a person under this act. Hope you are clear with this point. And so here I'm stopping this video because the video is getting lengthy, and listening law videos such a long time will eventually bore you. So we will stop at section 387. Hope this class is helpful to you, and if you find this helpful, please do share with your peers, like students, friends, whatever you call. Hope this is helpful to you, and we'll continue with section 388 in our next video. Please do like, share and subscribe, and comment below, which will be an encouragement for me to make other videos. Thank you for watching.